me about it. Come on, let's talk about it. Change up the things you see. Open your mind to possibilities. Find your power, passion, and your purpose. You know it's time for you to walk in greatness. Let's murder mediocrity. Slay your goals, live out your dreams. Right now. Inspirational perspective.
Well, man, am I excited. I like to think of this as round 2, but this is the Ghana review I really wanted to hear, because in the studio with me this morning I have a group of young people who experienced the motherland for the first time. All of these young people are below the age of 25, below the age of 24.
21.
Below the age of 23. Matter of fact, I think the oldest, all of the 3 that are oldest are 21. Dominique?
Yeah, just one.
All right. And then Dominique, of course, who's in the studio with us this morning, who this is your 3rd time to the motherland.
Yes.
2nd time on the transformational tour of Ghana. And the listeners likely will remember you once you begin to share. So welcome back to the show, Dominique. Good to have you. So maybe we start with you, Dominique, so you can share your vision, because, I mean, you are in many ways responsible. Of course, I partner with you immediately. But you, in many ways, are responsible for these young people having an opportunity to go to Ghana. I mean, imagine that. For those of you who are listening who have children, young people before the age of 25. To me, it's like Ghana's a rite of passage in many ways, and these young people had that opportunity because of you. So share with the listeners, as we get started, why you felt like this was important based on your experience or experiences in Ghana previous to this.
Okay, thank you. So I'm Dominique Bryant, and I went on a trip in 2021, and I've been to over 30 states and over 3 countries, and never have I felt so much love, joy, peace, sense of belonging, and at home like I felt in Ghana. And I wanted everybody to begin to get that experience as well. It changed the trajectory of my life. I often say that I left the United States a great woman, but I left Ghana a phenomenal woman, and I wanted everybody to experience that spiritual transformation.
But why the young people, Dominique? Why don't you share a little bit about your passion for young people and part of what your organization does?
Okay. So I am the founder of Dream Academy Foundation. It is a nonprofit geared towards youth, ages 10 to 18. We focus on 4 major programs or initiatives. We have a life development and mentoring program for ages 10 to 18. Also, we have an internship program for 16 to 24. We have community engagement, and then we started the Educational, Cultural, and Social Engagement Tour, a.k.a. the Transformational Tour of Ghana. So we're talking a little bit about that today. I have 13 nieces and nephews, and I love children. I'm an advocate for youth. I'm passionate about them, and I want to see the best in their life.
Got it. So Dream Academy Foundation, you've been doing phenomenal work already here in the Chicago metro area with young people. And then you had a vision that you wanted to take this further. I want to take this further. I want to impact young people on a completely different level. I recall the conversation that you and I had where you were like, Linnell, what do you think about dreamers going to Ghana? And I'm like, I'm good with it. Let's make it happen. You're like, okay, let's make it happen. How many dreamers did you take to Ghana on this first round?
6. So, 6 between the ages of 16 and 21, and 4 females and 2 males.
All right. So 4 females, 2 males. We have the males on the live line. We're going to go around and introduce these young people, and then I want to start getting into the experience of being in Africa, going back home. Some of you some of them maybe before their parents had the opportunity to go back home. So I mean, just a phenomenal opportunity and experience. So let's go around. We got the gentleman on the live line, but ladies first. And then how about we go, I was going to say, youngest to oldest.
Oh.
But then that puts you on the spot, doesn't it? So let's go oldest to youngest. Let's give her a break. You better with that? It's like, oh, okay, all right. So I suppose then, inside the studio, you're the oldest. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and just share a little bit about when this opportunity came to you. Like, why would you, a lot of young people might be like, no, I don't know, going somewhere like that without my parents. What made you say, okay, I can do this?
Okay, so hi, my name is Elisa Smith. I'm 20 years old. I'm a junior in college, and I inspired to be a chemical engineer and working for Miss Dominique through Dream Academy Foundation. I just thought it was like, I thought it was able to like venture out because I'm just an adventurous person myself. So when she like said, "Oh, we're going to Ghana," I was like, "Oh, okay." And then she was like, "We're gonna learn where we came from, all this other stuff." And I was like, "Okay, I'm definitely down for it. And I'm excited." And then I went with my sister, so I thought like that was even more like a coming together moment and stuff like that. So yeah.
Awesome. Now, sis, you ready to go? You like you can you slide in here? Or nah, you like yes. I still caught you off guard a little bit.
Just a little bit.
All right. So why don't you introduce yourself? I mean, your sister Lisa just introduced herself. I think it's fitting for you to go next.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So hi, my name is Erica Smith, and I'm 16 years old. I'm currently a senior in high school. Yeah, going to Ghana was definitely an opportunity thing. Like, I know not a lot of people get to go, so yeah, it was like really overwhelming, especially when we went to the castles and all the information. It was really,
which we'll talk about. We'll talk about what that experience was like for you all going to the Cape Coast castles and dungeons. I mean, for such young people. And here's the thing, Dominic, I don't shy away from that. I think us really understanding who it is we are and understanding as soon as possible is important, but also understanding, like what we went through as a people is really important. And so I can't wait to hear more about that experience and how it went for you. So we also have Deja in the studio this morning. Good morning, Deja.
good morning.
Go ahead and introduce yourself and part of like why, you said yes to this opportunity.
Okay, my name is Deja Brent Branson. I am 18 years old, and I will be a freshman in college next month.
A freshman in college next month. So we got 20, 18, and 16.
Yeah.
Man, that's awesome. In the studio with us today, sharing their Ghana experience. And for you, why Ghana? Like, what made you say yes to Ghana?
It just seemed like an amazing opportunity. Ghana was a country that I had heard of but didn't really know a lot about, so I was really excited to just go on that adventure with Dream Academy Foundation.
Got you. All right. And then good morning, gentlemen. How are you, brothers?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. Don't sound so enthusiastic, brother. I know it's early.
Okay, sir.
All right. So who is this? Who is this on the live line speaking right now?
This is Joe.
Joe, good morning. Introduce yourself, brother.
I'm Joe. I'm 20, and I want to be an airline pilot.
All right. And Joe, what made you say, and if I'm not mistaken, Dominique, was it Joe that was like,
Absolutely.
So Joe, initially, man, you were kind of like, you weren't sure if you wanted to go to Ghana. What made you later share, like, or decide that, Ghana might be an opportunity outside of your auntie, twisting your arm?
I just thought it would be a great experience, and I'd get to learn a lot. So,
okay. And did that happen?
Yes, sir.
All right. We're gonna come back to more of that. I'm gonna let y'all warm up a bit. I know it's early When I was y'all age, man, this is like 7 a.m. What are you talking about? Okay. Warren, you out there?
Yes, sir.
How you doing, man?
I'm good.
All right. And so, Warren, for you, like, what was this experience like? I mean, what made you say yes to this experience?
Honestly, I can never say no to family. And my auntie called me and was like, "Hey, do you want to come to Ghana?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And that was literally it.
Got you. For some of you, this wasn't your first international trip. You have some travel under your belt. But what was it like? Because it's the first time in Africa, though, right?
Yes.
Yeah? No, not for you guys?
No.
Okay. What part of Africa have you all been to? The Smith sisters?
Nigeria.
Okay, so you've been in Nigeria, right?
Yeah.
Because your mom
Yeah.
is Nigerian.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. So you've been to Nigeria. So now you're in Ghana, specifically to learn about your history.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what was that like for you all? Second time to the motherland. What was that like for you all?
I go. It was very, I don't know, I was just taking it all in because usually when we go to Nigeria we have our parents and stuff like that, but now it's just like me and my sister, so it was like a lot, and it was like educational. It was just taking it all in. Like it was like when we first got there, it was like overwhelming because we were like, oh my gosh, we're actually here, da-da-da, Ma's not here, Pa's not here, and stuff like that. But after a while, I think, like, we just got cozy, and we were like, okay, this is our people. Like, it felt like home. Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with Lisa. It was, I guess, like, the farmer's market was, like, that was, like, the only thing I was like, oh my gosh, like, there's too much happening. Everybody just calm down. Yeah.
And this is when we went to the marketplace.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
which was like day 2, we went to the marketplace. Why don't you all talk about that experience a little bit? Like, Deja, what was that like for you, coming into Ghana, day 2, going straight into the marketplace? Like, what was that experience like for you?
I loved being there. The marketplace was really nice. They taught us how to play the bongos. We got to shop around. I got a cute purse. I love the experience. The people of Ghana are so welcoming.
Got you. So, this marketplace.
Yeah.
For you all, what would you say was overwhelming about it? And I want to know what you learned, too. Like, if you learned anything, you saw any differences between how business is done in Ghana versus how it's done in the States, and what you took from that.
The haggling
the
the finessing.
Yeah.
The haggling and the finessing.
Yes, like trying to get the best price. Like they'll really tell you, like, you have to pay this many CDs, and like if you get like someone who actually lives in Ghana, they'll be like, no, you pay lower.
Yeah.
Like, they're trying to get you, and a lot of us got finessed. I'm not gonna say who, but a lot of us got finessed.
I think everybody that goes to Ghana, right, Dominique?
Yes.
Right, everybody that goes to Ghana for the first time, I think they overpay for their first piece of merchandise. I mean, it just is what it is, right? For me, it was a dashiki. I paid like, what I thought, it should be, and then the brother I was with was like, hey, man, how much you pay for that dashiki? It's like, whoa, okay. Right? And then you learn. You're like, okay, I need to do a better job negotiating. I mean, was that a good experience in terms of learning about, how to negotiate, how to haggle for something that you desire?
Yeah, it was.
It was?
Yeah.
Did you feel like by the time we left, right before we left Ghana, you all had another chance to go into the marketplace? You feel like what was that experience like?
I definitely knew what to do now because, like, I saw people, paying really absurd prices. So, like, after I saw their experience, I was like, I'm not going to let that happen to me.
So you weren't the one that got got.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Okay. Oh my.
The boys got too.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. So Warren and Joe, what was it like for you guys in the marketplace?
The first time, I wasn't really sure what to expect with the bargaining and stuff. So I admit I did overpay, but it was fun to me overall.
Okay. Warren, what about you?
Yeah, it was good. I overpaid for the first item. Supposedly,
and what was the
supposedly
first?
and allegedly, I didn't think it was that bad, but after that, the second item I bargained pretty well, and then I didn't buy anything after that. I was like, nah. I'm walking right past them.
Got you. So what was the first thing you all bought in Ghana? Like in the marketplace, what was the first thing that, you were attracted to that you were like, okay, I want this. I'm willing to go through this negotiation experience to have this item.
I think the first thing we bought was the drums.
Oh, the drums. Okay.
Right, Bill?
Yeah, that was the first thing we bought.
Yeah.
Okay. So for the listeners, so that you all know, one of the things I always look to have surprises and delights on these experiences. And one of the first surprises and delight that I had for the travelers was the opportunity to see. It was like a welcome drumming that took place as we went into the marketplace. So welcome drumming took place. I think I put it live on Facebook, so you can go check out my profile. It's out there. And so they did the welcome drumming and some dancing, and then after that, they brought out drums for each of the travelers, and everyone had an opportunity to learn how to play the drums. And so that was the first experience. And then of course, as I already knew would happen, once these brothers finished up what they were doing, they turned it into an entrepreneurial opportunity, right? So, and by the way, I mean, isn't that a great lesson to learn? Like, you see how they got paid to do one thing, and they were like, how are we going to get paid to do something else?
Yes.
Right? And then they turned around and sold smaller drums to the travelers, etc. Right afterwards. And so it sounds like a lot of you all decided to buy those smaller drums. Yeah. All right. Deja, what about you? What was the first thing you bought?
The first thing I bought was waist beads, and I think I got a really good price on that.
Okay, so you feel good about what you got. All right,
I feel good about what I got. I don't think I got.
Got you. Yeah. And let's be clear, right? Whether we feel like we got taken advantage of or not, what I think is important is in the negotiation process, often you negotiate what you believe the value to be, right? And what I love about this for you all as young people, you all have been in Nigeria. I'm sure you've exchanged money in Nigeria, likely under the watchful eye of your parents, right? But this time you had an opportunity to kind of play on your own.
Yeah.
And exchange your American dollars for CDs. And then think about that, because I'm sure you all were on a budget.
Yeah.
It's a finite amount of money you can spend. So it's like, okay, of all the opportunities I'll have to spend, like, what will I spend it on? Yeah. And, I'm going to tell you something. This is an opportunity that many people who are listening right now have never had. Like exchanging, their money into foreign currency. Deja and Warren and Joe, this is the first time for you guys, right?
Yes.
And so what was that like? Like exchanging your money into foreign currency, trying to keep trying to keep those numbers and, okay, 10 CDs is $1, right? And how did that go for you guys? For you in particular?
For me, it was like, wow, our money is worth all of this. Made me feel kind of rich, but I was still kind of careful about how I spent my money.
So what was that experience like for you all? Coming from the States, often we don't think about how blessed we are. And I'm just curious, how did this experience impact you all in terms of, your perspective on the life that you live versus, how other people live in other countries? Warren, Joe, you guys are invited as well. Any thoughts on that?
I guess we could say we're privileged to have what we have, because if you were to go and you see how they live and how the houses look, you'd be like, yeah, I'm living a good life right now. It's not to give them pity. I know they're probably trying to make their money, make their hustle, but if you see how they're living and you compare it to the houses we have here, you'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm doing good for myself. Yeah.
Got you. Anybody else? I mean, it's a perspective,
Yeah.
isn't it? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else?
I would definitely say it makes you feel like grateful and everything, like that you live in the environment that you live in and stuff like that, and you come from where you come from. So, yeah.
Got you. Warren or Joe, any thoughts?
I agree with what she just said. It makes me feel grateful.
Okay. So gratitude overall. Now, and did you notice that any of our Ghanaian brothers or sisters appear to be unhappy
No.
or ungrateful themselves?
No.
No, they seem pretty happy.
Yeah. What do you make of that? I mean, because here it is often, right? Not to get in y'all business as young people, but I'm going to get in your business a little bit, right? But often as young people, I imagine there are times when like your mom and dad are like, no, you can't have this or you can't do that. And it's just like the world is gray. You're like, I can't believe, right? And it's like, and then, you experience something like, what you experienced in Ghana. I mean, has that shifted for you, how you all see the world moving forward?
I don't know. I feel like it's
I wouldn't say it shifted.
because how we were raised like, don't just use all your money all at once. Like, be mindful with your money. That's how we were raised. So I don't really know if it shifted how I see it. I think it kind of stayed the same, like privilege wise and how other people live. Yeah, so I don't think it changed.
Now, Warren, was that you that said it shifted for you?
No, I said it didn't really shift.
It didn't really shift anything? Like it's pretty much you kind of see things the same?
Yeah, I've never really gotten a bunch of happiness out of getting a lot of things, if that makes sense. I always got happiness from like being around people in relationships.
Okay.
So.
Shout out to your parents. What I'm hearing is really that your parents, whether you think so or not, have done a phenomenal job in really teaching you, what to value and what not to value. And so we got a group of young people who seem like they don't value material things. Yeah. Which would make sense that you took this opportunity to go to Ghana, which is, like a value of an experience rather than material possession, etc.
Yeah.
That's all right. Okay. All right, Dominique. Like I see what y'all doing over there at the Dream Academy. Yeah, that's amazing. One of the things that we did is we went to Takrady and we visited the Takrady Bassa Museum, the Pan-African Museum. And I'm just curious, lots and lots of Pan-African history, lots of history about all of us in the African diaspora. How was that experience for you all, just learning about your history at that museum?
I would definitely say that was my favorite part of the trip.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
I was so upset that I couldn't go in and take pictures of like my favorite art pieces and everything, but it was just like so cool to see like different artists make like different abstract art of like the Black history as well as just like the slave trade and how it came about, and they like were capturing like the essence of like the pain as well as the emotion, and it was just like a lot going on. But I thought it was so cool, and I just wanted to take pictures. I couldn't though.
I think so, not just you, not even me as and I'm like I'm doing everything I can to abide by the rules here, right? And just they say don't take pictures, let's not take pictures.
Yeah.
But it was one of those experiences that you want to take with you.
Yeah.
So I get that. Anybody else like in terms of your favorite experience? We had the museum, we had some other things, the Aburi Botanical Gardens. Any other thoughts in terms of your favorite experiences outside, of course, the dungeon experience, which is, part of the reason we go, right? Yeah. We go to pay homage to the ancestors. We'll talk about that in a moment. But anything else in terms of like really memorable favorite experiences?
My favorite experience was every time we interacted with people. I loved going to the Cape Coast School for the Deaf and Blind. I loved when we got out at the parade, that was for the fishing in Elmina. So I really loved that part, that interaction with people of Ghana.
Got you. So what about the school? Like, I'm curious. And of course, Warren and Joe, you guys jump in with, with whatever you have. But how did that experience go for you? Like watching, because you all are young people. A lot of these children aren't that far removed from your own, school experiences, past years. And so what was it like interacting with these children who were deaf and blind at the school, for the Cape Coast School for the Deaf and Blind?
I would say it was fun, like especially the dances, like when they're dancing for us and they let us come dance with them, like it really showed you like they can still do everything they're doing that we do as well, and that you shouldn't just pity them because they're blind or deaf or both. But yeah, it was really fun, and I'm happy that we got to interact with them. And then I think that was the teacher, he taught us how to say beautiful eyes or twins. Yeah, I was like, that was nice. So that was really fun. I thought we were just gonna tell them, oh yeah, we have this and that, and then we're gonna go. But I'm happy we actually got to interact with them. That was fun. I had fun.
Yeah, that was one of her favorite parts.
Oh yeah, that was one
of my favorite parts. Yeah.
What about it really stuck out for you?
I guess just because the fact of which they were teaching us how to talk to them. They weren't just scared. Like some of them, some of them were scared, but the ones that weren't, they were like, oh yeah, do this. Or even the teacher, he was talking to us instead of just ignoring us, because I thought he was going to ignore us and they're all going to go back to their classes. But we actually got to talk to them. We got to take pictures, so that was fun. Yeah.
So you all learned sign language?
Yeah.
Wow, you were okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And learned to interact with the children. Anything else about this Cape Coast School for the Deaf and Blind?
I thought it was pretty cool. The kids, were they deaf and they couldn't, they were dancing.
Oh yeah.
The deaf dancers, and they were dancing. They were dancing a little better than me, And they couldn't hear them. They couldn't hear the music, but they going through the vibrations, through the floor. And I was like, okay. They were teaching me some moves and stuff. I was like, okay, yeah.
So, I think what I love most about the Cape Coast, Dominique knows I'm incredibly partial to the school. For the listeners, one of the things that I made a commitment to do once I was exposed to the school, and by the way, you all might not know this, but when we first got exposed to that school, a lot of those children didn't have shoes. They didn't have uniforms. There was an essential need for just basic things, right? Belts, things that we take for granted. I'm sure when you get up in the morning, you have everything that you need in terms of your clothing, and then we have options, right? I know I saw different shoes at different times, sandals, etc. for many of you. So we have options. We were able to travel with options. And these young people didn't have that. And so in the very first year that we went, we made donations, and we donated for uniforms. And now we see, you all saw,
uniforms.
Yeah, all of them have uniforms, right? And they even have really nice dance outfits, and it wasn't always that way. And then we found out that they had a need for food. Actually, I think it was food first. We did the food, we really helped them with food first. And then after food, think of Maslow's. You guys know what Maslow's hierarchy of needs is?
No.
The name
Not yet.
Maslow sounds familiar.
Not yet? It sounds familiar?
Yeah.
Joe, Warren, you guys know Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
No, sir. No, I'm not familiar.
All right, well, you will be when you go to college. If they don't teach you, then you need to tune in so you can learn this, right? Yeah. But Maslow's hierarchy of needs is basically that often it's hard for you to learn anything or reach any type of self-actualization if your basic needs aren't met. And these children, they're going to school, but their basic needs aren't met. And I think sometimes we don't think about that, right? We just expect a child to learn. Yes. But if a child's basic needs aren't met, according to Maslow's hierarchy, it's very difficult for you to think about anything else other than survival. And so what we wanted to do, for me, when I see this, I'm like, okay, they shouldn't be worried about shoes, right? They shouldn't be worried about food. And so I began to encourage the travelers, let's donate, and let's provide food. So we did that. We bought them 6 months of food, maybe the first time that we were there. You came with us in 2021. Okay, so by then they were a bit more sorted out. But then in 2019 we came back, and then we really provided money and products. We bought lots of shoes and belts and all kinds of things back over. And by the way, shout out to the Ghana travelers who've gone in the past, because this is not something I've done alone. We'll collect money on the bus, and many of them will give, money out their pocket, $100, $200 for these children. We brought Braille machines so that they could actually, imagine a school where you have children who can't see, but they also can't learn to read because they don't have the proper machines to teach them Braille. And so we had the opportunity to donate to these young people and get them Braille machines for each classroom. And so fast forward, where we spent, I would say most of the time that we went to Ghana before the pandemic, we spent giving them, supporting them with basic needs. And so now, maybe you all could talk a little bit about what you donated, because now we're able to, support them in a different way. Basic needs I met, food. We wrote letters to Ghana, because Ghana wasn't providing them money, right? So they weren't sponsored by the government. They're sponsored by the government now, right? And these are the things that we've been able to do since 2018 as a result of going to Ghana. And so for those of you that are listening, every trip, this school is our service project, our way to give back. We're showing up there, Ghana gives to us, but we want to make sure we give back. And so this school is one of the ways that we do that. And so now here we are. And these young people, man, they have, we've been able to give them so much, to the point where now, Dominique, one of the things that I know the Dream Academy Foundation does is you all donate. You all want to talk a little bit about what you all donated to the students when you were there?
We gave them pads, and we had some backpacks with pencils and school materials. So I remember that. And sunglasses.
Yeah, sunglasses, headbands. I saw walking sticks.
Yeah, the walking sticks.
Well, that was from them.
Okay. School supplies. Yeah, pretty much.
And the walking sticks, so that you guys know, shout out to the 2022 cohort transformational tour of Ghana. If you guys are listening, we raised almost $1,000 on the bus for these young people, and we used that money to purchase walking sticks, seeing eye sticks for the students back here in the States. And then I shout out to Sierra Dockery, House of Light, because she made that possible. Her organization supports blind and seeing impaired youth here in the States, in the Chicago metro area. So she was able to get the walking sticks, and walking sticks have to be measured properly. And so we got them measured properly for the students. And then I took those back, was able to take those back due to the money we raised on the 2022 trip to give them to the students this past time. So every year we figure out a way to give. I'm so happy that was one of the highlights of you all's trips. Warren Joe, anything about the Cape Coast School for the Deaf and Blind?
I was just kind of in awe the entire time while they were performing.
Yeah, the performance was amazing. The performance really was. Yeah, absolutely amazing. And I think, Elisa, you were referring to them dancing, not being able to hear, but moving to the drum based on the vibration of the ground that the drums create. And did they ever lose rhythm?
No, not one.
We lost rhythm.
Yeah.
Right, but they never lost rhythm. They never lost rhythm.
About 20 times.
Yeah, man. It was amazing. Absolutely amazing. Now we're going to move the conversation to something a little more sober, which is the experience that we all shared in the Cape Coast Castle and Dungeons, and then also the Elmina Dungeon as well. So for those of you who are listening, this is how the trip goes. Like we start when we get into Ghana on a Friday afternoon. Everybody's pretty tired, and then we'll go to the hotel. We'll have our first dinner, first experience of Ghanaian food, etc. That Saturday, we moved around. We went to the W.E.B. Du Bois Museum. How was that for you guys?
That was great.
That was nice.
Yeah.
You enjoyed that? Okay. You all knew about W.E.B. Du Bois before this? Or
I've
this
heard some things about him, just like in textbooks and stuff like that. But yeah.
All
I
right.
don't think so.
I've heard about his involvement in civil rights here in America, but not in Ghana.
Okay. Warren, Joe, was that your first time hearing about W.E.B. Du Bois?
It was for me.
No, I heard that on the board.
Okay, so 50-50 there. All right, so that makes me happy too. Like this level of exposure that Ghana brings, and so we went to the W.E.B. Du Bois Museum. We went to the marketplace. We try to make the first day fairly light. Yeah. Right, first full day in Ghana. It's day number 2 of the tour, and day number 3 we leave the first hotel, and we begin to take the journey to Cape Coast. And then our first stop was at the Cape Coast Castle and Dungeon. So what was that like? I'm going to go to the gentleman first because we go into the male slave dungeons first. And so Warren and Joe, what was that experience like for you all?
It was heavy.
It was heavy?
Emotionally, yeah, it was heavy.
Okay. What about it was emotionally heavy for you? Warren, right?
Yes, it was Warren talking. Just the conditions of the area that they were in. Lack of sunlight, no food, super cramped. How many people were in there? Was it 500?
200 in each holding area. And you had, 3 holding areas in the male dungeon, so they can get about 600 men into that dungeon in Cape Coast.
Wow.
Yeah. You all spend time. I mean, so think about that, right? At its height of the slave trade. I mean, and think about our group. There were 20.
Yeah.
Maybe 22, 24 altogether, right?
Yes.
And when we moved into those dungeons, we spread out, right? And we kind of filled up that dungeon. Of course, we all had space, right?
Yeah.
But, so Warren, like, what else did you take away?
What else did I take away?
Yeah.
Anger.
Okay, that's legitimate. Yeah. What were you angry about?
Everything. I was just pissed. I was pissed at the conditions that they were in, and that people had done this to us.
Joe, what about you?
Yeah, I was upset too at the fact of how the conditions were and how we weren't treated like humans.
Got it. And did it surprise you that this took place on the continent? Like this was actually, because I know a lot of times, in terms of how we hear about or learn about slavery, like it's all right here in the States, right? So it's in the South.
Yes.
So, were any of you surprised like this was taking place on the continent of Africa, in West Africa, like these type of conditions?
Yeah, because like usually in the textbooks, you mostly hear like the little snatch and go. Like they'll snatch you from like the coastlines and stuff like that, and they'll take you to America, and then like they'll enslave you over there. So to hear about it like actually on the homelands is like, oh wow, it was happening at home. Yeah.
And horrible conditions at home.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Yeah, because it was like only like a few of us in there, and it started getting hot, and I was like, oh my gosh. And it was like 600 men in there. Yeah, it was a furnace up in there. Yeah, and they
see,
and the windows were so small, like it was bad.
little peepholes. For real.
Yeah.
Like peepholes,
Yeah,
yeah.
it wasn't really
Yeah.
window. And then the church on top of it, I was like, well, that's so mean. Oh, and like the church being on top of the male cave or slave caves.
dungeon.
Yeah, I was like, that was really mean. Like, even though he didn't have like an exact reason of why it happened, the reason that he came up with was like, oh, like that was like a really big realization of they really did not like us. Like that was,
Well, it was a matter of dehumanizing us. And do you all know the history of race? We talked a little bit about it on the bus, but I think you all might have been snoozing, which is okay because we were moving, so I know y'all were wore out. I know y'all. Warren and Joe, did you all catch a little bit of the history of that on the bus?
About the Moors?
No, not necessarily about the Moors, but the Moors, I mean, play a role in this in some ways when you think about the context of it historically.
Was it about like us being royalty and we were teaching them, and then like they didn't like it, and then they kind of like reversed the roles on us and were more cruel in their ways?
Portions of it, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, portions of it. Yeah. Dominique's like, go ahead. Yeah.
Talks about that
So
on the
one of
trip.
the things, so that you guys know, and I want to stick with this experience in the slave dungeons, but just give some context because, these, I think it's important, especially when we're talking about something that's historically relevant like this, that you have context and you understand who it is that we were, right? So we were the authors of civilization. I mean, not just in terms of Moorish history that took place, after Christ's death, like in the 600s, the 300, 600, 700 year reign that they had, but even previous to that, you think 3500 BC, like we were the authors of civilization. And a lot of times, historically, right, and this is part of what we talked about on the bus. I looked back there and I saw y'all was snoozing. I didn't want to wake you up, but I'm gonna give you the lesson now, right?
Okay, cool.
But a lot of times, historically, we only see ourselves as captives, as slaves, and we really don't understand the history of our ancestors that extends well before the Moors, well before the birth of Christ, and thousands of years before that, right? It's like there's a very historical relevance in terms of the occurrence of race and who it is that we were. And it leads to help us understand why we were so hated and why they would do something like that to us. And it's important that we understand who we are, the authors of civilization, the first men and women. Like you carry the DNA and melanin of the first men and women on the planet. And the first men and women who created civilizations that had electricity. Like, can you wrap your mind around that? Mm-hmm. Right? That had these pyramids that we still see today that we often aren't credited for because of the whitewashing of history.
Yeah.
Right? And it leads all the way to what we experience in those dungeons, which also puts a chasm. Mm-hmm. Like, how could this happen? And we have to understand that as young people, so we can make sure it doesn't happen again, especially for you all in the studio as young women, as you become mothers one day, and of course for you, Warren and Joe, one day when you all become fathers. So, what about for you all? I mean, so we talked about the male dungeon. One of the things that we learned in the male dungeon is that you all remember the story about the cobblestone that we were walking on?
Yeah.
Yes.
One of you all want to share that?
Yeah. So basically, the treatment of like the slaves were like really terrible, as you guys already know. And a lot of people were dying of sickness and stuff like that. And as they were dying, their body and like their skin and bones would like melt to like the ground kind of and become one with like the bricks and stuff. And these scientists came and they scraped up like some of the the floor, basically. And through their scientific evidence and stuff like that, they realized that the floor is actually melanin, us, blood, sweat, all of that. And
urine, feces,
all of
that.
You
name it. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And so that you guys know, the floor was excavated so we could actually see the cobblestones. Mm-hmm. And so there was a point, back in 2018 when we went, that you couldn't see some of that, but there were markings that showed you how far they had to dig down just to get you to the top of the cobblestones. Wow. And so you're talking about excrement and body fluid that often went above the ankles. Mm-hmm. So when they walked into those dungeons, it was above their ankles. Wow. This fluid, this soft mush, filthy mush that they were standing in. Mm-hmm. And so just the conditions of these dungeons were absolutely horrible. Yeah. And our ancestors survived it. Yeah. And that's the really important piece, is that we all have that inside us, that strength. Yes. That strength that now we're not surviving. How can we use it? How can we use that strength when we're not under those kind of circumstances, in terms of our education, in terms of how we push, in terms of what we create, etc. And that's one of the reasons I was so excited to have young people on a trip where you get this so early. So then we went to the female dungeons. And you had the experience of the female dungeon at Cape Coast, also the experience of the female dungeons in Elmina. What did you all take away from that?
I guess when he was talking about the punishments of the women if they didn't want to have intercourse with him, yeah, that was messed up. Because I think it was a boulder. They would face humiliation, public humiliation, and hold the boulder. It was a big old rock.
A cannonball.
Yeah, a cannonball basically.
They would make them hold the cannonball.
And they would be tied to one, I think, too.
Tie them to a cannonball so they couldn't move, and then to hold a cannonball as a punishment for declining the advancements of whatever officer, governor, etc. wanted to take advantage of them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, I got a question here in the Facebook feed, and Albert was asking, what was the average age or age range of those being held in the dungeon cells? You guys remember the average age?
I don't remember the averages, but it was teenagers. Yeah. Kids our age.
Your age. Yeah.
I think it was 19.
Yeah, 17 to 19.
Yeah.
So wrap your mind around that, right? I didn't have the opportunity to be in Ghana at your age where it was this could be me, or could have been me in another lifetime, in another time period. But for you all, when I look at you all, right, at 16 all the way up to 21, that was the average age of the captives in those dungeons. So I'm curious, what was that experience like? Hearing that there were young people your age. And, well, let me ask you this. Right now, when you think about life, I'm guessing, correct me if I'm wrong, you think possibility, right? There's all these, at least I heard you say that you're headed to become a chemical engineer, right?
Yeah.
Deja, Erica, you guys you're clear on, have you figured out what you want to do and who you want to be, Erica?
I want to be a pharmaceutical scientist.
Okay, yeah. So pharmaceutical scientist, Deja?
I would like to be a politician and philanthropist.
Okay, I remember you saying that. We got our pilot. By the way, Deja's serious, y'all, so you remember that name, right? Deja Branson, because you're going to see it on the poll eventually, I'm sure.
Yes.
Right, in the voting booth. Mm-hmm. She's serious about that. I love it. Joe, you shared that your aspiration is to become a pilot, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Warren, what about you?
I want to be an environmental scientist.
I'm sorry?
I want to be an environmental scientist.
Okay, environmental scientist. So I asked those questions because you all have aspirations. Now, imagine those young girls, young boys, young women, young men, like, you imagine they had aspirations
Yeah.
Yes.
as well?
Mm-hmm.
Did you all think in any way when you had that experience, like, wow, what if this were me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely envisioned myself behind like the
Oh,
cage
yeah.
and thinking about like all the stuff that like I have now being stripped away from me. I found that very saddening. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Anybody else, like, kind of put yourself in that situation and what it had you feeling?
I did. Yeah, definitely.
What was that?
Yeah.
I was saying that I did.
Okay, Joe?
Situation.
Yeah, I did too.
Okay, that was Warren. Okay, you know their voices, but not do. All right. Warren, tell me a little bit more.
I was just thinking that if I was put in that situation, I don't know if I would be able to do it. Like, to be able to survive.
Yeah. I mean, that's a whole thought. It's one of the reasons we honored our ancestors while we were there, if you all remember, because, I mean, think about those conditions. And this is one of the reasons I say, like, for those of us who are African Americans and we have, ancestors who were captives and slaves, like, you ever, I don't know if you've ever been in a conversation where, like, people are embarrassed to own their ancestry of slavery. You ever, has that ever happened?
Yes.
I think I heard somebody say something like that.
Say it in the mic.
Oh, I think I've heard somebody say they're like, I don't really like being black, or I don't like black people, and I'm like,
And they're black.
Yeah.
You're
Or,
black.
yeah.
Yeah.
More people don't
Like,
claim that they're black.
yeah.
They're something else. I'm Caribbean. I'm
Like,
this. I'm like, you're black.
You're black.
You're
Yeah.
Spanish. You look like
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the reason I think that happens is because, like, when someone says, well, you came from slavery, like, how is that, that's not something that you
proud
really
for.
normally would think, like, you could be proud of.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Now that you've been to those dungeons and, like, you realize that your ancestor, your female ancestor, for Warren and Joe, your male ancestor survived that. Like, do you feel ashamed of your legacy?
No.
No.
Not at all.
I feel empowered.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Say that again.
I feel empowered.
You feel empowered?
Yeah.
Yeah. What other words would you say left you all feeling?
Grateful that they went through all that so that we can live and
Yeah.
we wouldn't have to experience anything like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I agree with what Deja and Lisa said. Like, yeah, we should definitely feel grateful because we have come a long way. I mean, it was a slow process, but it happened, and like a lot of people died for it. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. Should honor them.
Yeah. To honor them.
Yeah.
Right. And what I often say is, like, the blood that flows through me is of the strongest of the strong.
And the best of the best.
Yeah,
Yes.
because there's no other way that you can survive something like that if there's not a spiritual fortitude that is a part of my lineage. If there isn't a physical strength, like almost like a miraculous physical strength, like, because I mean what they went through and survived.
Yeah.
That's not a part of who I am. And then the question I always have is, and hopefully that you all continue to ask yourselves, is how do I tap into that?
Yes.
I see that smile on your face. Yeah. What came to mind when I said that?
It just made me think of how the experience of going to Ghana made me really want to look into my ancestry and my ancestors' origin story and give back to that community and learn about their culture.
Yeah.
It just made me want to learn more.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you all say that? I mean, the group overall, like, now you want to learn more about your history?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Warren, Joe?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, job accomplished, Dominique. Yeah. Yeah. Now, I'm curious, have you come back and told any of your friends about this?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we told our
Yes.
aunt. Like, I
Yeah.
didn't tell many people, but I told some people, like close relatives. Yeah. Like,
Okay.
you know
Okay.
Yeah.
I told my friends. I told my sister.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what was that like sharing your experience?
It was wonderful. I told them just how much I loved being there and how welcoming it was and how like at home I felt there.
Okay.
And how I wanted to go back.
Got you.
Yeah.
Warren, was that you that said yes?
Yeah, I told my friends.
Okay. What was that conversation like?
It was good. They asked to come.
Yeah,
Okay.
for
Like
sure.
many of them want to go now, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
One
awesome.
of his friends reached out to me already.
Oh, really? Like, hey, what's going on
Yes.
here? Okay, that's amazing. That's amazing. After we had that experience, we went to Ancestral, the site of the Slave River. Anybody want to share that experience and share a little bit about, Ancestral and what the Slave River was?
Oh, wasn't it like the last bath for the people who were captured? Yeah.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Anybody else in terms of the experience in Ancestral?
It was wonderful getting to go there and go on the walk that they walked through to get to the river and to be in the river and just feel the water, experience that.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Any of you have thoughts about like what it might have been like to be there as a captive?
I did. I tried to like envision like their thoughts and like what they were seeing and what they were going through and stuff like that as they're walking. Like I don't think they knew what they were walking towards, but like they're just walking towards a river and like they don't know if like is this death? Like what's this gonna lead to and everything. So and then just them getting in the water, taking
Getting
the
plunged.
their bath or whatever, like the relief, but also like the scariness too, like the water.
Rushing.
And everything, the cold water and stuff like that. So,
Yeah. Awesome. Warren or Joe, any thoughts there in terms of your experience in the at Ancestral, the Slave River?
It was enlightening.
In what way?
I don't know. It's kind of hard to put it into words. I just felt like a weird connection. Does that make any sense?
It makes a lot of sense to me. Dominique, you want to share a little bit about your experience there when he says he felt the connection?
Yeah, so we it was great. So Warren and Joe are my nephews. So being in that river and our ancestors did walk through there, it was definitely amazing and so forth. So, yeah.
Gotcha. Yes. So when you say you felt the connection, let me do the best I can to educate you all. Okay. So we're spiritual beings. You guys get this, right? We're spiritual beings.
Yeah.
And often we forget this because we get so caught up in the physical. And I know you young ladies, you have your hair and your makeup and your jewelry, and it's kind of like we get caught up in the physical, right? We're like, oh, I want my hair to be like this or look like this. So I'm going to have it this color right now. I'm going to have these braids right now. And we forget that we're spiritual beings. But the other part is our physical, like your ancestors still live inside of you through your DNA. And DNA, as much as scientists have learned about it, there's so much that we don't know.
Yeah.
But one of the things we have learned is this idea of epigenetics. Have you heard of that before?
Yes.
All right, so all right, who wants to explain epigenetics to the audience?
Okay, I'm going to try to explain it.
All right, go ahead.
So basically, isn't that like if your ancestors have experienced trauma, that can like go down your line, your lineage? And
That's
stuff
correct.
Like
That is correct. Right. So if your ancestors experienced some level of trauma, that trauma could be passed down through the DNA lineage, right? Now, is it safe to say that our ancestors that went through this horrible experience likely experienced some trauma that they passed down?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But what else did they pass down? Because they didn't just pass down their trauma.
Strength.
They passed down strength. What else did they pass down? Endurance. Resilience. Anything else that comes to mind in terms of what they passed down?
Problem solving.
Hard work, yeah. Problem solving.
Yeah.
Their intellect, their brilliance. Again, remembering that we are descendants of the very first civilization, the civilization that the Greeks were in awe of. Keep that in mind. Right? The civilization that they mimicked, not just the Greeks, but the Romans, etc. Right? So all of that is in us. All of that is in us. And Warren, when I hear you say that when you touch the water, you had this connection, right? Because this is why I want to bring it back full circle. That often there are things that happen to us that we won't fully understand in terms of those types of connections. And it's not to define the connection, but when you have those type of connections, just practice being completely free to it. That makes sense? And allowing whatever flows to flow. Because what I believe is when you have these type of spiritual connections, especially like you touch the water, and then there's a connection. And by the way, many of my travelers over the years have had these same experiences, Warren. Where you touch the water, you feel something. It's likely because an ancestor had an experience there. And by you touching the water, it brings that experience back, or like there's something that you feel. Because epigenetics is just one component of the DNA connection. There's so many other connections that we don't know about. There's so many spiritual connections that we don't understand. That when that happens, often we're touching or tapping into something that is very meaningful for us, which is why, Warren, you had that feeling. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir, it makes sense.
Okay. All right. And you don't got to know how to explain it, right? All that matters, right? All that matters is that you had it, and that it's meaningful. And I imagine, Warren, that you won't forget that.
No, I will not forget it.
Yeah.
Not for a while, at least.
Yeah. All right. So, anything else about that part of the experience? That's the heavy part of the journey. That's the sadness, the anger comes up. We go in. We didn't hold back with you guys. we let you experience it the way any adult experiences. And so, anything else about that?
When we were praying for the boys, that was or praying for everybody. That was nice. It was very connecting.
Okay.
In the dungeons, we were praying for the young men. So we prayed for Warren and Joe.
Oh, okay. Oh, in the cell.
In the cell.
In the holding cell. Yeah.
And then the boys prayed for us, around the women and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought just touching the water, you could see the gold particles and everything moving around. I thought that was pretty cool. And then
it's the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did take a little. And then I also thought it was pretty cool that it kind of just started raining, so I was like a shower that I kind of thought in my head.
Yeah. When we believe in us and muscle, it started to drizzle a bit.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, it's like a little shower. I was like, okay.
Yeah. Beautiful experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful experience. Okay. So we got few minutes left. We have more experiences than that. Over the break, you all brought up the bonfire. Warren and Joe, you guys remember the bonfire?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Now, over the break, the ladies in here said that was a very memorable experience for them. Which that kind of shocked me, by the way. Because, I was talking, and sometimes, when I'm talking, I don't know how young people, I don't know how y'all taking it all in. So that was wow, okay, that was meaningful for you all. Warren and Joe, how was that experience for you?
It was was a good experience.
There's a picture, actually, Ade, if you pop it up, where Warren and Joe are standing. I'm in the background, and the patriarch of the trip, Philip, the male elder, is pouring into them. You guys remember that when Philip? And this is like these are these. He has a picture up for Facebook, you guys. These are these moments that, for me, like, makes Ghana so special, because Philip is in his 70s. He has had a wealth of experience as a man. This was the second time in Ghana, and we were around the bonfire. In the picture, you could see the fire in the distance there. We were around the bonfire, and he just began to share, like, wisdom. And Joe and Warren got up to be closer to make sure they could hear everything that he was saying, that the patriarch of this trip was saying. And this is one of those warm moments that, like, you never forget. And hopefully Warren and Joe, like, that's something that you all never forget. But tell me, what else did you take from the bonfire? Like, what was meaningful about having that bonfire? And for the listeners, as you can imagine, Dad over here in the corner too, right? Like, as you can imagine, like, your girls go through this experience that's incredibly emotional, traumatic, etc. And, like, there has to be a healing process. Right? And so the bonfire is like one of those moments where we have an intentional healing process. And the point of the bonfire is that our ancestors, like, most of the most meaningful things that took place for us happened around the fire. And so that healing, like that first portion of, like, those healing conversations happened around the fire. What do you guys remember about the bonfire experience?
I guess, I guess, I don't, well, this isn't something I remember, but it's something I kind of disliked. But I liked that we were able to, like, all share our emotions on what was happening. Like, we all had, like, some type of connection or something we all related to. So that was, like, something I definitely remembered.
Okay.
I definitely got a feeling of safety and warmth.
Yeah.
And, like, just a community where you can just share and
judgment free.
Yeah, and everyone just touches on, like, what their experience is and how they've moved, like, through life and everything. So yeah.
Cool. Deja, what about you?
I actually did not go to the bonfire.
Oh, that's right.
But my mom did, and she told me that she loved her experience there, and everybody was sharing how they felt about the trip and everything we had done and experienced, and she really liked that. Got you. Warren, Joe, I mean, you guys were there. You were, I mean, the listeners saw you in that picture. What was that moment like for you guys?
It was a good moment to learn. In that specific moment where we were talking to Mr. Phillip.
Is there anything you took away from that conversation, Warren? And as you think about that, Joe, what was the experience like for you?
It was not really sure what I would say it was. It was just, I just can't get over the story that he had told us and stuff like that.
Yeah. So for the listeners, Philip shared a personal story that at some point I would love for him to be on the air and share, right? Like, share his own personal story. But he shared a personal story about why this experience in Ghana was really meaningful for him. It was a family story, something that took place in his family, and very, very private story, which is why, again, like, we'll leave it for the bonfire. But in that moment, he shared that story, and then he poured into these young men. My thought was just powerful. Warren, I was giving you a moment there. Like, anything else you took away?
How do I explain this? Not to rush, I guess. The story that Philip shared with us helped me realize that I don't need to have everything figured out right now, and I can take my time with life in a way. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. One of the things that I've learned in life is that my biggest lessons didn't come in the classroom. Like, in the classroom is important, right? I mean, you got to know what 2 + 2 equals, right? You got to know how to communicate and write, and so the classroom is important. But the classroom is not going to teach you most of your critical lessons if you haven't figured this out yet. Like critical lessons. Like, the classroom is there to help you put it all together, but the critical lessons, like, aren't taught. And I say this all the time, like, I'm imagining, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, Warren, Joe, Elisa, Erica, Deja, but I'm imagining at this point, the youngest of you, you're a junior, you said?
Oh, no, senior now.
I am so sorry.
It's okay.
I know that is like a big time sin. Okay. So senior.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're a senior now. Let me ask you all a question. In school, and you would imagine at this point, at a senior in high school, you're going into your senior year, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay. So by your junior year, that they would have taught you how to set a goal. Have they taught you how to set goals yet?
Yeah, they have. Like, even in middle school, we had.
Oh, they
goal.
taught you?
Yeah, even in middle school, they used that goal thing, SMART goals. They used to
Oh,
have
they
that.
taught you how smart goals. Yeah. Okay, no, personal goals.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, they taught us how Miss Smith did. That was my seminar teacher. She taught us. She was like, she did not play about that.
Teacher. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Warren, Joe, they teach you all how to set goals yet in school?
Not in school. My father has.
Okay. All right. Good job, man.
Yeah, no, sir. They didn't teach me that in school.
Okay. All right. What about this? Just checking in. This is the best way to find out what's being taught in the schools right now. Deja, did you learn how to set a goal yet in school? Did they teach you how to set a Okay, so SMART goals they're teaching in school.
SMART goals, yes.
Okay. Personal goals, they teaching how to set a personal goal, though?
For you?
For you? All right, that's awesome,
yeah.
Erica. That's awesome. Okay. All right, good. They didn't teach us, I ain't learned. Okay, that's good. That's good to hear. All right, what about, have they taught you all how to manage money?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what seminar was for. Like, the class itself is like financial education as well. So it teaches you how to do your taxes. What else did it teach you? Bills, like what you should do, insurance, all that.
No. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about money management.
Oh.
Like, have they taught you how to invest money? Like how to grow money, how to make money?
Not necessarily.
Like CDs and what is it? The profit.
Like, when you say invest, you mean like profits?
Yeah,
like, or
that.
invest.
Yeah.
I think they have
Counselors.
touched a little on it, but they haven't like fully dived into it to say like, oh, this is the steps.
That's how you do
what
it.
you need to do. Yeah.
Okay, and you're in college now.
Yeah.
So nothing. Deja, what about you?
No, I didn't really learn about investments, more like saving and financial literacy.
Okay. Okay,
Not
that's
about
good. They didn't teach us that either. I didn't learn that. And so, the schools are getting better. Warren, Joe, what about you guys? They teaching financial? I got to ask this because I got young people in the class. I mean, I got y'all in the classroom right now.
They taught me a little bit about it in high school. I had an economic class. And then I took an economic class in college as well.
Okay.
So
okay. Joe?
No, not really.
No? Okay. All right. So it's a give and take. It, I think, might depend on what school, what teacher. I'm learning that. It seems like there's a teacher you all have.
Yeah.
Miss Smith.
Yeah.
Okay, so Miss Smith is the bomb. All right. All right. I mean, hey, this matters. These teachers matter, right? Okay. Yeah. So there's a teacher that's teaching that. That's special. That's special. It really is. Okay. What about your purpose? Anyone taught you how to distinguish your purpose, like your life's purpose?
Maybe they have, and we just didn't take the. Oh yeah,
Miss Dominique definitely has.
Oh, Miss Dominique. Okay, all right. Shout out to Dominique in the studio. She like, but Dominique, I'm talking about the school.
Oh yes, my bad.
Right, yeah. But Miss Dominique has, which is amazing. But the school, I mean, outside of Miss Bryant, there's.
I don't think they've taught us life
I
purpose
think
wise.
if you have aspirations, they try to back up your aspirations and make you
like counselors and stuff,
Yeah.
especially the counselors.
or
counselors.
classes to make you
Yeah.
know what you want to do in the future and stuff like that, and where you want to go. So yeah.
Okay, all right. Warren, Joe, life purpose, that being taught to you guys?
I didn't learn that in school.
Okay.
Yeah, me either.
All right. And Joe, I know you and I, we had some extensive conversation about purpose and what's next in the airport on the way home.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I know firsthand, he was like, nah, man, ain't nobody ever taught me this. So, and that was amazing. I had a good time with these young men. Like, as much as y'all would let me, as you all can imagine, those of you listening, you put two 20-year-old young men with me, and I'm just like, what's up? What you doing? What you thinking? What's happening? How you living? Right? So, but awesome. Okay. All right. So we got 10 minutes left. What would you all like to talk about? I've run my agenda. What would you like to share about your time in Ghana? Dominique, you included. About your time in Ghana that you think is important for the listeners to hear before we end today's show.
I just really enjoyed myself, and I feel like more Black people should do this tour and visit Africa and learn stuff about their ancestors.
Why? But why? Why should more Black people do this? I'm gonna put you on the spot.
I feel like it's something we all need to do.
Okay.
I feel like it would be. I don't know how to explain it really. It's like something that you should do that will help you in the way you view things, it can change the way you are. Like Auntie Dominique, it changed her tremendously.
Okay.
And just stuff like that.
Yeah. How has Ghana changed you? I mean, from the first time you went, like your first time exposure, how did it change you? And then now, what do you notice?
It brought a new awareness, and it grounded me more as a woman. Like, understanding, we talked about we come from the best of the best, the strongest of the strongest, and now I'm at a new level of creativity. I've been a new level of freedom and being authentic and just being sure of who I am. Like, it solidified and grounded me, and that is just amazing. And the first time I went, I got that. And every time you go, Ghana is a gift that keep on giving. You get another part of you that's healed and whole and free. And this last time, I was renewed, restored, refreshed, and I found another level of intimacy when I went to Ghana this last time. I saw more community and fell more in love with the culture. It's like a relationship. That first time you're like, okay, do I really like this person? Or, you're growing. So it was a growth with Ghana this last time.
Got it. Yeah. What do you notice as the biggest difference in your life from the first time you went, so before you went the very first time, to now? Like, what would you attribute? Because, this is an investment. It's not a cheap trip, right? And so far, since you've gone every year.
Yes.
Yep, 21, 22, 23 now, right? What has you continuing to make this investment?
I'm connected to Ghana. Like I said, the first time you just think, I don't know. But it's something about Ghana, learning about being a Pan-Africanism, or is that?
Yep, Pan-Africanist, yep.
Like, my heart is there, and my heart is here too. I know that. So I want to do the work. The people, right? My brothers and sisters. It's just they got a heart to want to create and want to give and want to serve. And I'm like, how can I serve them and help them get to the next level like I'm doing here in the United States? So it's some type of interconnection that I have there, and Ghana's calling me.
Gotcha. I love it. I love it. What about for you all? Anything you want to share before we close? We got 6 minutes left.
I'll go. I would have to agree with Joe when he was saying that, like, Black people should go. I mean, the history books, they teach you about, like, the slavery and what they say happens, but I feel like Ghana was teaching, like, the other side of the story. So, yeah, that was, like, an eye-opener. So it was definitely the history. You should definitely go to, like, see the history of what happened from a different point of view.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like it adds to the healing process that a lot of people don't think that or don't know that they need.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Say that again. It adds to the healing process.
That a lot of people don't know that they need. So.
Now, Elisa, what you just shared, right? It probably will be a sound bite. You might see it later on social media. Okay? Here's why. Because I say this all the time. And I love when things that I say all the time are shared unprompted in a way that people really get it. Because you got to imagine people who listen to me every Sunday, they're like, here's what he's going to say next. Right? They know, like, they probably knew the questions I was going to ask. He's going to ask about purpose next, you know, like, so they kind of know me, right?
Yeah.
I love hearing you say that because I firmly believe, like we were talking about that epigenetic piece where there's trauma. And, like, that's a piece. So we have this power. Right, this power that came from them. We have this spiritual fortitude. We have all these wonderful things from our ancestors.
Yeah.
And what stops us is the pain. Like what really slows us down is the trauma. And because that trauma hasn't been properly addressed, right? And this trip is called the Transformational Tour of Ghana for that reason, because you get an opportunity to open the wound. Because it kind of sucked to be in the dungeons. Let's be clear, right? It's like, it's not a good feeling, right? It's like you feel anger and sadness. I can only imagine as young women, like, you're like, wow, somebody my age experienced this. Like, you're like, can't even grasp the fullness of, like, the torture of that.
Yeah.
But then to hear you say that on the other end, like, do you feel like as a result of this, it's going to, like, shift the woman that you become?
Yeah, definitely.
Wow.
In what way?
Just how, like, I carry myself and how I move and stuff like that. Like, if I face, like, a roadblock, I feel like I'm like, no, we gotta keep going. We gotta, you know, like, if I get a no, I'm be like, well, that's not the end of the story. I gotta keep going. There's more doors to open and stuff like that. So, yeah, it definitely, I feel like it's made me more stronger mindset-wise as well as physically. And, yeah.
Wonderful. That's like...
Don't give me crying.
That's huge. That's huge. That is everything. I'm sure, like, your father's in the studio, your mom at home listening. I'm sure they both have big smiles, and he got a smile on his face. And I mean, but it was worth it. It was worth the investment.
Yeah, it definitely was.
Got you. Deja, what about you? Like, what is it that you want people to hear before we close the show?
Going to Ghana definitely brought about a connection to the continent for me that I didn't really feel before.
So would you say now, having been there, that you feel connected to the motherland?
Yes, a little bit, and I want to go back there so that I could cultivate that connection more.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's why Dominique keeps like she. It's let me tell you something.
I'm so thankful for Miss Dominique.
And for the listeners, this is how it is when you go home. Like, home is a rubber band; it keeps pulling you back.
It does,
right? And this is my 13th time on the continent. 13th, Ghana 6. But I've been to Africa, you know, over the years, at this point, 13 times. Deja, You think this is my last time?
Nope, probably not.
Right. Home is a rubber band. It keeps pulling you back. And so what I'm excited most for you all as young people is that, I mean, before you even turn 25, you've had an opportunity to go to the motherland. Will you all be back?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Warren, Joe, will you all be back?
Yes, sir.
Wonderful. Hey, my inspired peoples. LinalHarris here, certified ontological coach and trainer. I'm so excited that you're watching the channel. By the way, did you know you can catch the show live at 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. every Sunday morning? You can. All you have to do is go to my Facebook stream, Coach LinalHarris, catch the stream live, or you can listen to the radio show via iHeart at WVON 1690 AM. But since you're here, if you love the content, I ask that you share it, like this particular video, and subscribe to the channel. I hope you're having a great day.